The next time you're building a large chest, here's an innovative piece of hardware for it that can solve a number of problems. It's Rockler's Lid Stay Torsion Hinge Lid Support. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to install it. When you're building a big chest like this, the lid needs to be hinged. But that poses a problem for slamming and injured fingers, especially for children. Now, you can use butt hinges like this to attach the lid, and then add some variation of lid stay hardware, like this, to keep it from slamming. Or you can choose an all-in-one solution instead with Rockler's Lid Stay Torsion Hinge Lid Supports. These heavy-duty cast-zinc hinges come in bronze or nickel finishes, and they have a built-in torsion mechanism that takes the place of a lid stay. These hinges will hold the lid up along their range of travel to minimize the risk of slamming, and Rockler offers them in 15, 30, 40, and 60 inch-pound load ratings, and you can mix and match the hinges to suit the size and weight of the lid you're installing. Rockler provides a helpful online torsion calculator at rockler.com to help you find the right combination of torsion hinges for your project. Now, there are two ways to install these hinges, and I'm going to show you both options using this little cherry chest prop I have here. On this first option, both leaves of the torsion hinge lid support simply mount flush. This larger flat leaf mounts to the bottom face of the chest lid, and this bent leaf wraps around the top back edge of the chest. No mortising. Now, something to keep in mind about this flush mount option is that the thickness of the hinge leaves creates this gap at the back of the chest. But you could hide it by wrapping moldings around the edge of the lid like this. Start the installation by choosing and marking where you want the hinges to be positioned on the back edge of the lid. Be sure to take into account the amount the lid ends will overlap the chest. Rockler offers a Jig-It jig for these torsion hinge lid supports that I'll be using. It sets the positions of the hinge screw holes on the lid without measuring. Drilling these 4 pilot holes sets the back of the lid flush with the back of the chest. Or drilling these 4 pilot holes sets the back edge of the lid flush with the back of the hinge, and that's what I'm going to choose. Using a number 6 self-centering drill bit, drill all 8 screw pilot holes. Then fasten the flat hinge leaves to the lid. That takes care of the lid. Now we can attach the hinge's bent leaves to the top back edge of the chest. Set the lid and the chest on your workbench and prop the chest up on blocking so its back panel is even with the bent hinge leaves. Adjust the components for an even overhang and clamp the hinges into position. Drill pilot holes in the bent leaves for screws. Now, before you drive in these screws, be careful. There's 2 different lengths, 3/4 inch and 1 inch. The longer screws are the ones you drive into the narrow back edge, and the shorter screws are the ones you drive into the inside back face. Well, that's it for the first method. Installing these hinges flush with the top back edge and leaving a gap back here. The second option for mounting these torsion hinge lid supports is to recess the hinge leaves in a mortise. Here, the flat leaf still mounts to the bottom face of the chest lid, but we'll route a wide mortise into the top back edge of the chest here so that the thickness of these hinge leaves can recess below this edge here. Now, the mortise needs to be this wide so that it can also fit this wider top hinge leaf. The big advantage of this mortising option is there's no gap at the back edge of the chest, and I think it's a cleaner solution. Start this installation by attaching the flat hinge leaves to the lid the same way as the flush mount option. Then adjust the lid for an even overhang on the chest carcass and mark the width of the wider hinge leaves on the top back edges of the chest. Now, you could chisel these mortises into the back edge of the chest if you'd like, but I'm going to use this shop-made mortising jig for my router instead, with a clamping fence attached to it. When I clamp it in place, it automatically sets the dimensions of these mortises I need to route. And I'm going to use this short piloted mortising bit to make the cuts. Here, I'm setting the bit depth to match the thickness of the hinge leaves. Then I can clamp the jig in place on my chest and route the mortises with the bits bearing following the inside edges of my jig. The jig is set to remove the entire top back edge of the chest carcass within the mortising area. And here, I'm removing the curved back corners left by the router bit. Now set the lid and the chest into position as I've done here and clamp the parts together. And double check to make sure that the wider hinge leaves line up with the edges of the mortises. Then drill the pilot holes for the bent hinge leaves and drive in the short and long screws to attach them. And that wraps up installation option number 2, mortising these hinges into the chest. Rockler's lid stay torsion hinge lid supports are an all-in-one solution for installing chest lids easily and effectively. You can see them at your local Rockler store or by visiting rockler.com. I'm Chris Marshall with Woodworkers Journal Magazine and Rockler, and thanks for watching.